Hi everybody, it's Sarah Cray with Let's Make Art, and I teach watercolor, and today we are doing a very special Christmas tutorial for you. So this is what we will be painting right here on the right hand side. And this is actually based off of painting that I saw 2 years ago on Instagram, and I saved it because I've always loved it. It's from an artist, Jeremy Miranda. You can find him on Instagram. But I just felt like this painting, the light in it was fantastic. And also I really felt like it captured that just kind of silent beauty of a Christmas night. I don't know how to say it any other way, but like we still have the lights, we're in the glow, but it's kind of done. You know what I mean? And you're just there enjoying it all. So I decided for this project, I wanted to try it, but we made some adjustments to make it watercolor friendly. Also, it's one of those things that when I saw this painting, I was a little bit like, oh my gosh, like I miss other mediums where you can really layer, where with watercolor you can't. And it's just kind of, this painting has been in the back of my mind for like 2 years. And then I just thought like, wait a second, I have an idea of how I could do something like this. So I'm going to try it.
Awesome.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So we're going to do this project in 6 steps. For our very first step, we are going to sketch. And then our second, for our very first step, we are going to sketch and then put down the bright colors on this tree and this tree. Our second step is we are actually going to mask our tree and our light. Our third step is we're going to paint the sky and kind of that background foliage. Our fourth step is we are going to paint the ground, and then we're going to remove the masking fluid. Our fifth step is we will then paint in this tree and then some more foliage. And our sixth step is any finishing details. Okay?
Awesome.
All right. So first thing that we're going to do is we are going to paint the 2 trees. So I'm going to put the horizon line probably about a third up on my paper. I'm going to sketch dark so you guys can see, but try and go as light as you can on your own painting. And then for my Christmas tree, I'm just going to do a triangle here. Okay?
Okay.
And then the tree in the background is going to go like this. And then if you want to like kind of sketch out how your tree goes, you can. And this is where you can make your tree look like anything. Okay? It can
Spooky tree for a Christmas painting.
Yeah, you can do a spooky tree, do whatever kind of tree you want. The biggest thing is we want to make sure that this area closest to this illuminated tree has a light on it.
Okay.
Okay? So that's why I'm having it kind of go right here. You can have that kind of work its way a little bit closer. I would suggest not having them on the same plane. So you see how this tree is more in the foreground than this one. Yes. They're on different planes. So I would separate the planes and then also separate from the horizon. So I have 3 different planes. Okay.
Okay.
And that's it. That's all you have to draw.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah. I'm going to erase the horizon line from this tree. And I'm just going to lightly erase some parts here where I know I want it to stay light. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our paintbrush, and using whatever colors you want, we are going to start adding color to our tree. So if you like the yellows, you can do yellows. Okay. And don't be afraid to add other colors in here. I really love like a purple. I kind of really like maybe this kind of purple too. Maybe I might do a little turquoise. The biggest thing here is you want to keep these colors fairly light in value. So if they're laying on a little bit too thick, you can just lift. I'm going to do like a turquoisey color. Let's grab some phthalo. Maybe I'll use this one. And this is a new palette that I just got. I've never used it before, so
it's very pretty.
Hopefully it works. And let's make it turquoisey color. This is why I struggle with pans, because I like to smear all the colors together. So I'm just kind of going through and adding different colors here and there. You can also do a little bit of red. I mean, you guys can choose the colors that you want. Some of my favorite things is to mix a little bit of red and purple together. You get the most gorgeous colors. Also, it's okay to like just let some of these colors blend. How do I say this? You can wet them so they can start to kind of bleed into each other, but what you don't want to do is work it back and forth, because if you work it back and forth, you're going to create mud. So you need to let the colors have their moment. So you can like barely touch them together and then kind of move on. Okay? And I'm just kind of staying within that triangle shape that I sketched out. Okay? So there's that. And then using whatever colors that we have on this right-hand side, that's what we're going to put on this tree. So I'm going to kind of start with this kind of yellow color here. And then I can introduce a little bit of this kind of like red purpley color. And it's okay to smear it a little bit. Maybe a little bit of this turquoise blue color. But we basically just want these colors to talk to each other. My blue kind of turned green, so I'm going to add more blue. There we go. Okay. Now we are going to let this dry. And get your masking fluid marker or just masking fluid ready, because we're going to mask off this area on the tree. Now, originally when I painted this, I also used the masking fluid to mask off some of the colors on here. But after I finished the project, I realized that that wasn't totally necessary. So you can, if you want to, or when you go to paint your tree, when we go and put in like the textures between all of these beautiful colors, you can just paint around, which I actually think would be easier than trying to mask off, but I'm going to leave it up to you guys because it's your painting. Oh, and one more thing I want to do is I'm going to take some yellow and do this little glow underneath this tree here.
A below glow.
A below glow on the tree. And I do things like this all the time where I'm simultaneously drawing and painting. It's just because while I'm drawing, I'm like, oh, wait, but maybe a little like strong highlight would go really nicely right here, you know? So sometimes you just kind of catch things. Oh, yeah, I like that. Okay. Now, when it's nice and dry, we're going to let it, just the paper kind of cool off naturally. You're going to take your masking fluid marker. And then whatever area you want to stay, I'm just kind of prepping it to get that masking fluid to come out. You can also prep out on a paper towel. With this Pebeo marker, the masking fluid is going to come out blue. So I'm just going to kind of mask off the areas that I want to stay this bright color. Sometimes it's tricky because with the marker, you'll get like streaks where you think you're masking off the entire area, but there's like a thin line that you forgot.
Mm.
But it's not a big deal. Whenever that happens, I don't get mad. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. Not mad about it. Okay. And then I'm going to mask underneath the tree to preserve this yellow glow. Sometimes I like to kind of push the paint out and then just spread it. The masking fluid. And if you want to mask off certain areas of the tree, you can. I'm not going to. I'm just going to kind of paint around it.
Okay.
Okay?
Risky, but okay.
I like to live on the edge sometime, Okay. Now what we are going to do is we are going to move on to step 3. We're going to paint the background sky and the foliage. Now, what's really interesting about this painting and that I love so much is you can see this nighttime sky here is actually blue. It's a beautiful shade of blue. And this is where watercolor gets really kind of tricky compared to other mediums is there's a luminosity to watercolor, which is where you can see the white of the paper show through. So you sometimes have to do a couple layers of a light value wash so you can still maintain a lighter value, but so it's not creating this luminous daylight sky.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just going to you can avoid this area or you can just wait for it to be completely dry before you do this part. I'm going to use a larger brush and I'm going to wet the sky portion using just water. And I'm going to avoid this area because I don't know if I've waited enough time for it to be, the masking fluid to be dry. So I'll just kind of avoid it. But if you have waited, then you can just paint right on top of it. Okay. And I'm going to take some phthalo blue, maybe a little bit of indigo, maybe a little bit of lamp black. Where is my phthalo? I'm going to just add this kind of...
That's a great blue.
Isn't that a good blue color? So we want to get that little hint of, right as it's not quite pitch black, you know what I mean? It's not quite night sky, but it's still obviously the sun has gone down.
It's post-twilight.
Yeah. And I can't find my phthalo on my palette. I think I must be out, so I'm using King's Royal Blue, which works just fine. There's nothing wrong with that. And it's okay if you paint into the tree, like the trunk of the tree that we sketched, because that tree is going to be a really dark brown anyway. And then I'm going to do another layer of this kind of blue color. Again, this is trying to give that sense of that nighttime feel, but it's a lighter blue. And then while it's wet like this, I'm going to take my foliage brush and using a darker value blue, maybe with like a little hint of green, so I can grab some indigo, I can grab some undersea. I'm going to start putting in some foliage textures. So we want it to be a darker value than the sky that we laid down, but we don't want it to be like black. Let's actually grab some of this blue. And for this foliage part, if you want to try and do like fir trees, you can. If you just want to do kind of like bushes, you can. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. Just kind of showing that there is some background foliage going on here. And sometimes while it's wet like this, I'll take the butt end of my brush and just do a few kind of branches kind of poking out. just to show that there is some structure to that foliage that's happening. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we are going to paint the ground, and then we'll remove our masking fluid. So for the ground, I'm going for a really dark green. It's going to be darker right here at the base. And then I'm going to kind of let it lighten up as I get closer to my tree and as it gets closer to this kind of glare. And again, you want to make sure your masking fluid is dry at this point before you try and paint over it. Because if your masking fluid is still wet while you're painting, then that masking fluid will get caught in your paintbrush and probably ruin it. And I've learned that the hard way. Okay, I'm going to do another layer because again, this is still like a night painting. So we want to darken that grass. It's okay if it bleeds a little bit into the horizon. That's not a big deal. Okay. Feels good. One more kind of slice down here. Let's do some more yellow right here. Now we will go back after we remove this and like soften that transition a little bit, but at least we have some of the yellow kind of saved. Now we're going to let this dry. Just adding a little bit more foliage. Okay. Now, for you llamas, you might have noticed that we didn't do the oath in the beginning, but I actually saved it for this spot because let me tell you, at this stage, when we're removing the masking fluid off the painted areas and trying to make the tree and trying to make this come together, it's actually very scary. So I thought we needed a little reminder midway through of why we're here. So if you can raise your right hand and repeat after me, I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise to be kind to myself.
I promise not to compare my
I
work.
promise not to compare my work.
And I promise to have fun.
And I promise to have fun.
Thank you. Okay. So when everything feels dry, you're going to take your little masking fluid eraser and remove the masking fluid.
You do this with your finger too if you don't have one of these?
You can do it with your finger, yes. And the other fun thing about this project is some people don't know that you can actually mask off painted areas. People think that you can utilize it just as a way to keep an area white, but that's not true. I will say, though, that it's more intimidating, but we can do hard things. And the other thing that's really fun that I just want to encourage you guys to do is like, sometimes you're going to see a painting and you're going to say, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to approach it. But sometimes your brain just has to ponder on it for a while. I mean, when I first saw this painting a couple years ago, I mean, it's different. It's different than what he did. It has a different effect, but I feel like I didn't envision me being able to even recreate it in watercolor just from how the mediums work.
Right.
And then 2 years later, I'm like, wait a second, what if I try it this way? And so I just want to encourage you that just because you can't figure it out right now, that doesn't mean that you never will be able to figure it out. And also, you can approach projects differently. Just because I approached it this way, that doesn't mean that there's another way, an easier way, a way that works better for you. Don't be afraid to try something that if you have a different idea of how to approach a project, please do it. Please. Okay. So now that we have removed the masking fluid, I always have to tell myself this because sometimes, like, once I put masking fluid, I think that it's always protected. And it's like, no, no, no. You got to be careful now with where you put stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to paint our trees, and then we'll go back to our grounds and kind of make sure we're good there. So when it comes to this tree, there's a couple different ways that you can do it, but I'm basically just going to use a small brush. This is a round 4, I think, but you can use a round 6, a round 2. I'm going to take some undersea, and I'm just going to kind of paint in between these colored lights a little bit. So if you want to actually create circles as if they're little lights, or if you just want to let some of these kind of overlap, because you know how sometimes those like out of focus glare colors aren't perfect circles, or the circles do overlap with each other. Basically, we're just kind of putting in this like dark value in between. Okay. So I'm just working my way around the tree. I'm also going along the perimeter of the tree to add a little bit of texture. If you want to switch to your foliage brush, you absolutely can. I decided not to use my foliage brush because I don't have as much control. I feel like I would paint into the colored areas a little bit more than I would want. Isn't that pretty?
Yeah, gorgeous.
And there might even be some like white areas. That's fine too. And you can decide how much of this tree you want to be illuminated. That will basically inform how much you paint over, these lit sections or not. And now I'm just trying to make sure my tree is kind of what's the word? Not crooked.
Tree shaped.
Tree shaped, exactly. Okay. And now I'm going to go and do this tree here. And this tree here is going to be a really dark brown. So you can switch to around 6. You can switch to around 12. I'm going to start with kind of like a lamp black, burnt orange mixture. That always creates a really good brown. And you're going to try and follow the sketch that you originally laid out. And as I get closer to this lit up kind of area, I have to remember that it's no longer masked off, so be careful. And then I'm going to grab some like yellow or orange and just kind of have a little bit of a color transition between like the dark, really dark brown edge and the colored, multicolored section. Okay, and then let's add this branch up here. And if you want to add another branch cutting off, you can. You guys can decide how branchy you want to make your tree. And then this is where, if there's any kind of white gaps, we want to go back and kind of fill those in. So either with yellow paint. kind of blend towards that multicolored section so it feels like it's all part of one thing. This is the trick when it comes to masking fluid that makes it tricky sometimes is when we separate and chunk things out, we have to go back and blend it so it doesn't feel blocky. Okay, so there needs to be these periods of these areas of transition. Okay. And now we need to do the same thing with our ground here. So we do want to preserve some of this really gorgeous kind of yellow color, but that feels so light in value compared to what we have going on with our ground. So I basically am just going to pull some of this paint up towards my tree, and I'm going to actually do another layer on the ground itself just to kind of darken the whole thing one more time. Switch to a larger brush. So you see how it still creates that glow, but it doesn't feel like a separate thing. You know what I'm trying to say?
It's not out of place.
Right. Kind of melds more into what we have going on here for the grounds. And if you want to do a little like kind of texture or something like that, you are free to. And if you're feeling kind of like, oh, let's just add some more foliage kind of texture back here. So it's like layers and layers. Absolutely do that. Just don't, how do I say this? Don't have this compete with what's going on in our tree. We still want it to feel like different planes. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It really comes together at the end.
It does.
It really, that last step really does a lot of heavy
when you're
lifting.
painting it, I mean, that's why we saved that oath, because like in the beginning, this was truly like trust the process, because I had no idea if it was going to work. You know what I mean? Like I just had this idea and I thought, all right, I'm going to try it this way. And I'm like, the whole time you're like, is this going to come together? And then if you're feeling like I want, you know, a little bit stronger color here or there, you can go back in with some of these colors that we used. What you don't want to do is cover up all of the highlights though, because we really want this tree to feel illuminated. So we can add stronger like pigmentation in some of the places, but we don't want to make it all a dark value, even if those dark values are yellows and purples and blues, because then that kind of eliminates the look of something that, like a light.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to do a little bit more pink here and there. I do like this glow. I feel like the glow is just a little hint where it will go. And I kind of want there to be that smells a little bit better. And I'm just going to do a little bit darker value on the edge of this tree because it started to blend in with my last layer of foliage. So if you need to use like straight lamp black a little bit, you can. Don't do it across the whole thing though. Okay.
Beautiful.
And that is our little tree painting. It was funny because I was thinking about, I'm like, okay, I know this is going to release on Christmas. You know, are people going to want to paint a Christmas tutorial on Christmas? You know what I mean? Are you going to want to paint a stocking then? Like, it was one of those things where I really wanted it to feel I don't know, a little bit special
In the season.
in the season, but you know what I mean? So, as I was painting a bunch of different options for this, after I painted this, I just thought like, this is such a unique take on a Christmas painting, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to give a shout out to the original artist, Jeremy Miranda. Again, this is his painting. You can look at his account here. He's just a master at light. So if you want to be inspired, go take a look because it's really just beautiful stuff. And I'm going to do the reveal.
Dang.
There we go.
Beautiful.
So, to all of my friends, all of my llamas, I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Thank you for being here with me. I hope you have fun with this, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.